Coming up on today's Next Fan Up podcast.
I was so furious with the Cincinnati-Philadelphia game. James, after the game, I went outside. I grabbed some batteries and I went and threw them at some old lady down the street.
Get them the ball, whether it's hunt and swing routes out of the backfield or just ramming Chubb down the opponent's throat.
First of all, you caught me off guard there when you said you smoked a pork butt. I thought you were going back down James's line of conversation.
Whoa, but my forecast is 40 years of darkness, earthquakes and volcanoes, the dead rising from the grave, human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
It's week 4 in the NFL. Here we go.
That's how we start. Yeah, baby.
32 SuperFans.
Where do the reports come from? Did you get an initial?
One PodVader.
That's football.
Every angle of the NFL covered.
All that kind of stuff, I get it.
This,
no question about it,
is Next Fan Up.
We're going to unleash hell here in December.
Hello and welcome to the week 4 edition of Next Fan Up. Hey everybody, PodVader here, joined by yet another cavalcade of superfans and our very special guest, Doc, for another week of picks here in the NFL. First, let me introduce you to that special guest. He is the co-host and founder of Tailgate Homegate Radio, an award-winning gridiron chef, Jeff Dockeray. Doc, how you doing?
Happy and a forwarding delicious week number 4. Food has become quintessentially more important every weekend as my Saints poop the bed.
That's one way to put it. Sure. I liked the more poetically you put it the other before we started recording. Our Washington football fan is from across the pond in Scotland. It is Neil. Hello, Neil.
Hey guys, great to be on. I've got to say, at the weekend, I was so furious with the Cincinnati-Philadelphia game that Philadelphia couldn't beat Cincinnati. I don't know how James is feeling, but James, after the game, I went outside. I grabbed some batteries and I went and threw them at some old lady down the street.
Before my time, Neil, before my time.
The fact that James took you so long to respond to that, I mean, says everything.
Well, you know, taking it all in stride. Available. Also before my time.
We have a semi-regular here on Thursdays. It is our Raiders superfan, Monty, or as he has appropriately titled himself, Where's Waller?
God, so disappointed last week, Pod. Looks like Derek Carr gave up 300 yards rushing. Get that guy out of town. He's got to be the problem.
Yep. I warned you. You all laughed at me at Jawan Williams. I warned you. Darren Waller was not going to be a factor in the game. And a guy a blast from the past is the best way to put it. It is our Ravens superfan, Don. Don, how have you been?
Hey guys, it's been a while. I'm still recovering from the debacle that was the Monday Night Football game, but it's good to be back on with you.
It's good to have you. You guys can send in your emails, nextfanup@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter at NFU Podcast. On Facebook, we're there, facebook.com/NFU Podcast. You'll find all of Doc's recipes plus all of our podcasts, a great way to continue the conversation you can have with us. You can also play along in our Pigskin Pick'em. I don't believe it's closed. If it is, let me know via those means of communication. I can open it. In the Pigskin Pick'em group, I ended up with 10 correct straight up, 8 versus the spread. Power Rankings got 11, which for a while was going to be good for number 1 for the second straight week in a row. But no, Chiefs Nick came in with 12 to win week 3 in the Power Rankings. Very, very disheartening.
Monty,
how do we know he didn't rig that?
Yeah, no, Monty, look, I take care of the NFC East guys and keep them in the box. You should be doing something about Nick. He's in your division. Sort him out.
It's getting out of control. The smugness is just too much, Neil. I don't know what we're going to do.
He is just oozing smug from every pore, isn't he?
Oh, it's so gross.
Tied now for first in the Pigskin Pick'em group is JEH. Remember him? He's back. Thanos is inevitable with 36 total in 3 weeks. And Barnold remains in first with 36 correct, although he stumbled last week with only 9 correct picks in the Pigskin Pick'em group. Oh, look at in the top 5. I see a PodVader slowly making his way back to the top. Where?
Hey, Jay, top 5, not number 1. Thanos is inevitable.
Very well. Very well. Are we ready for Pod's useless stats?
Go for it.
Pod's useless stats. Of course we are. I got quite a few of them, too. Through the first 3 weeks of the 2020 NFL season, there have been an average of 51 points per game scored. That's both teams combined. And that is the highest total through week 3 since 1970. A lot of points being scored. 6 teams, the Green Bay Packers with 40.7 points per game, the Seahawks 37, the Bills 31, the Ravens 30.3, the Chiefs 30.3, and the Falcons with 30 are averaging at least 30 points per game this season. And that is tied for the 4th most teams in a single season through week 3 since 1970. Last week, 3 teams also overcame deficits of at least 10 points to win. The Bears 16 points behind, the Steelers 11, and the Titans 12. In 10 of 48 games this season, a team has overcome a deficit of at least 10 points to win, tied with the 1987 season for the second most such games through the first 3 weeks. Only the 2011 season had 11 games of such factor. So there you go. A team overcoming a deficit of at least 10 points to win. In other words, 10 points is not a big enough cushion to win a game, is what we're trying to tell you here. In 18 games this season, teams have come back to win or tie after trailing in the 4th quarter. And on 3 occasions, a team has come back to win after trailing by at least 17 points at any point. That is 1 game per week on average. So at some point this week, there will be a team that will be down by 17 that will come back and win the game. It's guaranteed.
I guarantee you who it won't be.
It won't be the Denver Broncos or the New York Jets who play on Thursday Night Football.
Yeah, I don't see either one of those teams going up by that many.
We're not going to spend a lot of time on this particular game, as it is the Thursday night game. We did do a Thursday night preview, or I did a Thursday night preview. Quite possibly it's my best work ever, I think. 5 minutes of pure, unadulterated bliss of Broncos Jets. It's terrible, just like this game. Broncos are ranked 30th. The Jets are the worst team in the NFL by far. They are somehow still favored by 1 point in this particular matchup. I say that, and yet we're all taking the Jets except for you, Doc. Doc, you're out on a limb there with the Broncos.
Oh, I just simple. There's just nothing on the offensive side of the ball. The Jets, Denver, as bad as they've looked at times, I just think, and with the loss of so many bodies, I just think they're better coached at this point. And I'm going with strictly coaching. And that's why. There's just no hope in Jetland. Nothing. Nothing. You got postal workers working the offensive line and wideouts. So
we played a good clip of Adam Gase's post-game press conference after week 3 in the Not a Week recap episode. And you want to talk about no hope. It sounds like the coach has no hope either.
Yeah. What are you going to do? What's he going to do? Talk to the GM too. It's like there's just no talent on that team right now. And whoever is half talented is injured. So I'm just going with straight coaching with the Broncos. So.
Neil, does Brett Rippon have an ounce of his uncle's talent?
Well, one of the happier times of my Washington supporting life was watching Mark Rippon come from, a 6th-round pick he must have been, something like that, and he came all the way through to be a Pro Bowl passer. Probably the last sort of real talented quarterback that Washington had, really, Jay. Enjoyed him. Short time at the top, but a smashing player. Good guy, and let's hope so. I was really into this game, and I was thinking, wow, took me back to all those years ago, Jay, and it was happier times than the utter dross I've got to watch week in, week out here.
Neil?
James.
So Jason Campbell and Robert Griffin III don't qualify as talented passers?
I think Campbell probably, well, anybody who gets drafted by Washington draws a short straw, but him in particular, that wasn't a great time for Campbell. Was unlucky with his Washington career. He didn't have the coaching support, I don't think. And Griffin, yeah, of course, Griffin was an absolutely outstanding player, but I tried to wipe that from my memory, James, because he put us emotionally so high, and then almost in the blink of an eye was gone from the team and almost from the league. Oh, still with the Ravens, of course, but I like Griffin, but I just always struggle with people who, whatever they say, it has to be a T-shirt slogan.
Okay.
Great player though, and he's that rookie season outstanding. But Rippon was a guy who won us the Super Bowl MVP.
Let's see here. Any MVPs in this first game on Sunday? We have the Indianapolis Colts at the Chicago Bears. The Colts move up to 13th in the power rankings. The Bears move up to 17th. Vegas has the Colts favored by 2.5 points. For you anti-Phillip Rivers people, he leads all qualified passers with a 78.3 completion percentage this season. It is the third highest mark through the first 3 weeks of a season in league history. That is a minimum of 50 attempts. And despite the team that has the so-called vaunted defense, the Colts statistically are ranked higher than the Bears in defensive categories. I will take the Colts in this matchup. Monty, are you calling for your upset special already?
Yeah, put it, rack 'em.
Adam and Eve on a raft, a cup of muck, and an upset special.
Adam and Eve on a raft. I just think Khalil Mack is going to crush Phillip Rivers. I've seen it before. Phillip Rivers, he can throw it 2 yards down the field and work on his completion percentage, but he can't stretch the ball down the field, which is why T.Y. Hilton has disappeared. And I think Khalil Mack is going to destroy Phillip Rivers, and it's going to be fun to watch if you get a chance.
Neil, you seem to agree with Monty.
Well, also my upset. Let's face it, Chicago are now dealing with Big Nick energy, so that's going to be a win for them, I think.
Nick Foles does take over at quarterback for the Bears, but I've seen this story before, James.
I mean, look at it this way. They're probably more consistent play, and you don't have to worry about the Bears coming from behind to win yet another game this season. If they get the lead in this game, I don't think they give it up.
Mm-hmm.
Big names on the injury report this week. For the Colts, Rock Ya-Sin has an illness, so he was limited in practice. Running back Naeem Hines has a shoulder injury. Michael Pittman is out. For the Bears, Khalil Mack is listed as questionable, undisclosed injury, and safeties Deion Bush and Sherrick McManus show up in the injury report as well. Also worth noting, Tariq Cohen has been put on IR with an ACL.
There you go. That is your Colts and Bears. The next game is the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Cincinnati Bengals. The Jaguars fall to 29th in the power rankings. The Bengals remain steady at 28. They are favored by 3 points in this game. Gardner Minshew completed 30 of 42 passes. That's a 71.4 percentage for 275 and rushed for a season high 22 yards last week in a 31-13 loss. I just find it amazing that you managed only 13 points completing 30 of 42 passes against the Dolphins. It's terrible.
They were all within 5 yards.
Anyway, Minshew passed for 255 yards and a touchdown and rushed for 48 yards in his last meeting against the Cincinnati Bengals. But this one is it for me. I'm going to take Jacksonville. Cincy is moving in the right direction, and the Jags are definitely going to struggle on defense, but I think the Jaguars have enough on offense to beat the Bengals on defense. Doc, you disagree?
I I listen, I love the Jags. They're going to be my adopted team when I move down to the area. But I think at this point that Cincy is in a bit of it's a bit of a crossroads right now. If they don't get that quarterback some help, he's going to turn into a David Carr.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know if you saw some of the hits on him, but that kid's chest should have collapsed. I mean, they're going to kill him, but he's playing tough guy. You can only play tough guy so long.
Doc, do you think
been in every game?
Do you think it's more about getting an offensive line around him as opposed to getting targets? I kind of feel the targets might be there if he had time to throw the ball.
Well, listen, Green's not getting the separation he did. He's what is he averaging? 3.5 catches, and he's not having any impact on the games at all. Yeah, it's all O-line, buddy. They need meat and potatoes, and the rest of the draft, whatever, they trade away whatever you got and get some O-line. That kid is he's got so much potential. Mm-hmm. I don't know how he's still standing and he's not on the injury report, but I just think he's kept them in the game with a couple of if and buts, candies and nuts. They'd have a win or two. So I just think that they're good enough. I don't see enough explosiveness. I haven't heard about the injury report on Sharkey there for the Jags, but hey, I like the Jags. They're balanced. Great new running back. Everything very balanced. They didn't get off the schneid against the Dolphins, who overplayed against their potential. But I just think that this is bristling.
Well, James, what is the injury report?
DJ Chark of the Jaguars, wide receiver, still has limited in practice this week with a chest injury. Steven Hauschka, the kicker, has a knee injury, so that's something to keep an eye out for on Sunday. Brandon Watson, the corner, is listed on the injury report, along with offensive lineman A.J. Khan, the guard, and Brandon Linder, the center. For the Bengals, Logan Wilson, the linebacker, is in the concussion protocol. Cornerback Mackenzie Alexander is nursing rib injury. Defense tackle Geno Atkins is nursing shoulder injuries. All are listed as questionable.
By the way, they were phoning it in, apparently. Don, what do you think? You've got the Jaguars in this one.
Yeah, because I mean, from the injury report, it looks like Chark has a chance to play, and I think it's going to go a long way. I mean, if he has Chark to throw to, I think Mitchell Mania can at least be running mild. It's not wild against the Bengals defense. If he's left with the likes of Keelan Cole and Chris Conley and O'Shaughnessy at tight end to throw to, I think he's going to be in for a world of hurt. Because Cincinnati at least can keep moving the ball. You know, obviously they're not free to throw it as many attempts as Joe Burrow has taken already. My prediction is basically going that Chark is playing, but if Chark is ruled out, then I might change my pick for that game.
I definitely think you're in for an exciting game, even if it is between two teams that are in the lower part of the power rankings. The Cleveland Browns are at the Dallas Cowboys. The Browns have moved up to 18 from 21. The Cowboys have moved down from 13 to 15. Cowboys favored by 4.5 in this one. All I got for you is the number one offense versus the most inconsistent team in the history of the NFL. I'm going to go with the Cowboys on this one. Everybody else is too, except for you, James. You're going with the Browns. Is this are you going back to the Browns forever?
No. We're not going back to that. I just think that while Dallas does have a potent offense, someone help me out. Who's seen the defense this year? Because that's my biggest concern. I know they're giving up close to 30 points a game, if not more. I think every single opponent they've had this season scored at least 30 points. Look, they're 1-2. They can thank Atlanta for wetting the bed in week 2, but the Browns, I think the Browns are simplifying things. And while there is some mild rumblings of Beckham not being too happy with the way the offense is running, they have a winning record during any season for the first time in like almost 8 years. So
I believe it was 2014. It's the first time they have a winning record since 2014.
Yeah, they have played Washington. Come on.
So 6 years. But I look, this team will go as far as they can go by riding Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. And just get them the ball, whether it's Hunt in swing routes out of the backfield or just ramming Chubb down the opponent's throat. It's not on Mayfield and the wide receivers. The offensive line is playing phenomenal in the run game. They're solid in the pass game, but if they keep a balanced formula of leaning on those two running backs, they shouldn't have much of a problem beating Dallas. I think if they get away from things early or they get a lead and decide to get cute, then that's when they'll falter. But they
by the way, yeah, if you don't think I'm going to take that line out of context, you're crazy. Ramming Chubb down their throats. Yeah,
I certainly had a little bit of coming to my throat at that point.
Oh man, yeah. I'm going to end with the injury report because Kareem Hunt is on the injury report. He has that inner thigh injury going on that's not too serious, so he's listed as questionable.
Does that have anything to do with Chubb?
It has nothing to do with Chubb, but their two corners, Greedy Williams and Denzel Ward, both show up on the injury report as well, along with Olivier Vernon, linebacker Jacob Phillips, center J.C. Treader, defensive end Adrian Claiborne, and guard Joe Batonio. So Jack Conklin also on the injury report. All of those players are listed as questionable. The only players with Dallas showing up on the injury report this week are Tyron Smith with a neck injury and DeMarcus Lawrence with a knee injury.
Neil, you've written something interesting here in the chat about this game.
The bit about that I love Kay Adams or the other bit about
No, I was talking about that.
Okay.
I think we all like her very much.
Absolutely, yeah. I read somewhere that Mayfield was saying there's going to be a shootout game and all the rest of it. And if it's going to be a shootout, he's going to be dead within the first few minutes, isn't he?
Pretty much.
Because he is. You know, James absolutely nailed it with these chubby comments because it's all about the run game. If Cleveland don't get the run game, they're going to lose because Mayfield can't carry that team right now. He hasn't looked any better really than what was his rookie year when he played really well in spells. He's gone downhill since then. I don't see any improvement from last year. And you know, Doc was just talking about Burrow not having the offensive skill players around him. I mean, what more could Mayfield want? He's got a really good offensive line. I think it's ranked the number one offensive line through the first 3 weeks of the season. He's got some wide receivers there, and Landry and Beckham we know about, tight end as well. I mean, what else does this guy need? He's got a running game. I mean, come on, time to step up, or else finally shut up.
Very true. It's very true. The New Orleans Saints are at the Detroit Lions, Doc. The Saints fall from 9 to 11 in the power rankings. The Lions move up from 26 to 21. The Saints are favored by 4 points on the road. I will tell you, though, that the New Orleans Saints have won 12 consecutive games in the month of October. The last time they lost a game in the month was week 7 of the 2016 season. So they're undefeated in October, which is a good sign. Alvin Kamara will help in this particular matchup. He leads the league with 438 scrimmage yards, 6 scrimmage touchdowns, 3 of them rushing, 3 of them receiving, has scored 2 touchdowns in each game this season. And while I don't necessarily think he's going to need that many to beat the Lions, it certainly won't help. It certainly will help, I should say. We are all, Doc, going with the Saints except for Neil. So, Doc, tell Neil he's nuts. Or not.
Yeah, that shut you right up, didn't it, Doc? Come on. How you guys have all taken the New Orleans Saints. How did you actually watch the game last week?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You watch the Lions play?
Yeah, I watched the Lions. Didn't I watch the Lions win last week? Didn't I watch them beating the Arizona Cardinals? Maybe that was just another one of my dreams with Kay Adams. But you've got to say, New Orleans. I mean, come on. I mean, I was really disappointed in Breeze. And let's face it, if he was playing the Patriots would shut down Alvin Kamara, and that would be the end of the Saints. This guy looks down the field now, Breeze. He looks down the field. He sees an open receiver, and he thinks, "Nah, I'm outdoors. We won't be outdoors here, but I'm looking down the field. He's not throwing it down the field. He's dumping it off underneath to Kamara because he can't get the ball downfield. This could be. I'm sorry, Chris, if you're listening to this, but this could be a real bad season for the Saints. Looking at the quarterback position and the injuries on defense. Where's Davenport? I mean, they gave up 2 first-round picks for this guy, and where is he? Has he played this year? I'm not sure he's taken a snap.
Pretty sure he hasn't. Has Doc come back yet?
Doc's in hiding.
No, not yet.
He's waiting to move on to another game.
You've knocked Doc out.
Yeah, well,
Davenport is on the injury report this week. Undisclosed injury, probably the same nagging thing that's been keeping him from playing all year. He is listed as questionable again. Other defenders on the injury report include Janoris Jenkins with the illness, Marshawn Lattimore, undisclosed injury. We all know about Michael Thomas. Tight end Jared Cook shows up this week on the injury report, listed as questionable as well, along with offensive tackle Andreas Pete. For the Detroit Lions, they only have 4 players listed, most notably Desmond Trufant, the cornerback, tight end Hunter Bryant, both undisclosed injuries but are questionable.
Hopefully we can see some more of those fantastic Taysom Hill plays. Those are always exciting.
At this point, Jay, I'm looking at the picks here, and I'm thinking, Jay's pick, nah. James, no. You guys, I don't trust your picks, but Don's picks I always trust because he's pretty good at that sort of thing. And he's even gone with the Saints. Don, why have you taken the Saints in this game?
I mean, the Lions, they squeaked it. They got to win, but I don't know. Their defense is horrible. I mean, Stafford. Don't think excites me. I mean, yeah, Kenny Galladay coming back. That's a big boost for him. But with Kamara, I mean, how are the Lions going to stop him? They're not. You dump it down to him all day long. I think that the Lions defense is bad enough to fall for the stupid Taysom Hill trick plays. Taysom Hill, the quarterback, that his worst attribute is throwing. I mean, he's good at running. He's good at special team stuff. Not a great thrower.
Doc back.
Go figure.
Yeah. Well,
check 1, 2. Hello.
Yes, Doc, you're awake.
Hello.
Further, Saints undisciplined, underachieving, miscommunicating, and Sean Payton is coaching the worst of his entire career. Mm-hmm. Drew's not finding the little open receivers he's got downfield. Michael Thomas should be back. I don't know if it's going to change anything. More importantly, the D cannot guard anything. Cover 6, cover 2, cover 0. They are failing and miscommunicating on the D. Marcus Davenport's back at practice with the injured elbow. Failure completely. Cam Jordan's not getting to the quarterback the way they normally did. They had over 51 sacks last year. I don't know what team I'm watching, but I would watch the Detroit Lions. Kenny Galladay makes that team a much better team, and this should be an 85-82 game because neither D is going to stop either if Michael Thomas is in full groove. I think he gets his mojo back, but I just don't think the Saints can. This is the Saints defense of 5-6 years ago. Yeah, he should be. Yep.
Okay.
Doc, what's your recipe this week?
Well, seeing that, maybe we did parallel it there with the Saints crap in the bed, but these are, as promised, the bourbonized 3-meat baked beans. You want to know what's in it?
Yeah.
Bourbon?
Kicker. Real good. Yeah, Jim or Jack works, but if you've got your favorite, Woodford Reserve, whatever, cook down your bourbon whiskey. Real simple. You've got smoked sausage, ground beef, bacon, onion, garlic. You've got regular pork and beans with either mix it with some black-eyed peas or some black beans. Brown sugar gives it the sweetness with the molasses, ketchup, bold mustard, molasses, yes. And a little hot sauce to top. These are stick to your ribs beans. And I'll tell you if you ever smoke pork butt, or a cottage roll or something pork, do the beans, put them in a tin pan instead of water pan underneath to grab moisture in your smoker or grill. Throw the beans underneath and let the pork fat drip in to the pan of the bourbonized 3-meat baked beans. But the bourbon, overwhelmingly beautiful taste from the cooked down bourbon. So this is a winner pork and beans dinner.
I have questions, Jay.
Yes, go, Neil.
Right. First of all, you caught me off guard there when you said you smoked a pork butt. I thought you were going back down James's line of conversation.
Whoa.
Secondly,
that would be smoking loin. Inner loin.
So we're 4 weeks in, and I keep mentioning haggis on this podcast. I will be expecting a haggis recipe or something that includes haggis at some point. I mean, God, no. That's God's food. At some point. And then I have, on a personal note, I do have a question about cooking and preparing baked potatoes. Do you have any advice there on baked potatoes? Because I can't quite get the skin as I want it to be sort of like chewy and sort of, slightly burned but not burned.
You want chewy or crispy?
I would like a bit of both, to be honest. I'd like to enhance the flavor of the skin, is what I want.
Brush it with a little olive oil. Make sure they're russet potatoes.
Would you score the skin with a fork?
No. No. Have you ever done a stuffed potato, like baked them, cut them open? You can still get it crispy, but when you get that nice solid skin, take it out, take the guts of the potato out, mix it with a little, I don't know, like chipotle garlic hot sauce and a little cream cheese, put it back in, top it with cheddar, and you still get that crispy skin, but it's kind of twice baked potato with some nice inside guts. There you go.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Okay, Doc is going to make me excuse myself for about an hour so I can get lunch.
Well, if you'd like.
But hey, listen, Neil, I'll tell you, man, anything that's wrapped in a sheep's stomach shouldn't go on the smoker, but we might try it. So
it's haggis. It's the greatest thing. I mean, you ask Monty. Monty will tell you it's fabulous.
Good haggis is good. Good haggis is good.
Oh yeah.
Bad haggis is really bad. Yeah.
I mean, it's only 2 weeks or so until the haggis season starts when I'll be going out and shooting them. So that's great.
Wait, you have haggis season?
I'm only joking. Huh?
Oh,
you dumb American.
Yeah, I am a dumb American.
Wild haggis.
Nothing to do with these sheep.
Haggis. Wild haggis. Limit of 2.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We will take a short break from the football because this would have been the point we would have discussed the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Tennessee Titans. The Steelers 6th in the power rankings, the Titans 7, which is almost the number of players. Actually, it's the full number of people. No, it's higher. Anyway, Titans have a COVID-19 outbreak on their hands. 5 players, a number of personnel. This game is the first test in how the NFL will handle COVID-19 moving forward. The game originally got delayed until Monday. And then as another player tested positive this morning, Thursday, they decided that it was in the best interest and safety of the players to move the game back. Right now, by the way, I have not received an official press release as to the exact rescheduling of the game. I have heard that it is week 7 would be when this game will be moved to.
Sense, yeah. Yeah, I think basically like the Ravens Steelers play on.
They play that week, but they have the same bye week.
Right. Yeah. So it's switching that around and then having the Steelers Titans play them makes the most sense. Now, if another outbreak happens, but I don't know what the hell they're going to do. But that makes the most sense.
Or if the Titans haven't solved their outbreak by next week, what are they going to do?
Yeah, that's a whole different discussion. Yeah.
So this is obviously a situation that we knew was going to happen. I mean, I don't know if we actually knew it was going to happen. I think we sort of expected it would happen. It has happened. This is how teams are going to have to deal with this. I mean, it was already going to be an interesting aspect if the game got pushed to Monday. Now the Steelers have to work on a short week that they didn't have previously scheduled. We did discuss in the Slack channel this morning, and I'm surprised we didn't have this discussion at the beginning of the season. There were probably some other ways they could have scheduled these games to make this work even better, with perhaps scheduling 2 bye weeks, having the team. We know all of the divisions play each other, so having those inter-division games scheduled at the same time may have made a little bit more sense than what the schedule makers actually ended up doing, and maybe even putting the MLB decided that teams that didn't finish the regular season, if necessary, would have finished at the end of the season, perhaps having an unscheduled week 3 bye week at the end of the season where games would be played only if necessary, would also have made some sense here. And perhaps that's still in play because we still have plenty of time to get to that point. But it is, I guess it is what it is at this particular point.
While intriguing idea to move games to the end of the season, that will cause problems if the same team has multiple games that they have to make up. So for right now, I believe what the plan was in the beginning of the season, that teams within the same division and within the same time zones, especially if they play each other, have similar bye weeks. So I don't think there's a situation where you have like 3 teams in a division with a bye week. It's only 2. 2 of them have the bye, and then the other 2 have a similar bye. But we don't have a situation in the past where it would be like one team is on a bye in a division, the other 3 teams are playing. To kind of balance that out a little bit, try to keep. We did talk about how the first 4 weeks were somewhat balanced in a way such that everybody played 2 home, 2 road games, and how the bye weeks were scheduled more so within division to accommodate this. But this, like you said, this is the first snag, and how they deal with this will speak volumes going forward. Hopefully there's not a second outbreak with another team or with the Titans themselves again later on during the season. Luckily, the Vikings, who they played on Sunday, as of today of this recording, they still have 0 positive tests coming from that. So I just hope that everyone comes out of this healthy and safe. Again, this is something that we knew would eventually happen because these players, there's no bubble in the NFL. These players go home, and who they deal with once they leave the facility is a completely different story. Not just the players. You're talking about staff and front office personnel as well. Once they leave their team facilities and go home outside of their immediate families, who are they dealing with? And not just that, who are their immediate families, the people that they're, around, who are they dealing with? You're talking about like 6 degrees of separation here as far as how this number of players and personnel got infected, because if it wasn't their family, maybe it was someone their family came in contact with. Then they get infected. Then they show up. And now you have the outbreak.
I was just reading that the bus driver for the Titans, when they played Minnesota, also is just driving the bus for the Astros playing in Minnesota for the Twins.
Oh.
So hopefully nothing happens with that. So they've taken the bus driver off, but hopefully nothing happens.
But there have been no outbreaks in Major League Baseball.
No.
Well, not recent ones.
Right.
No, at the beginning,
not since the Miami Marlins.
Right. The Marlins, the Reds, Seattle, I think, had a little pause. There were a couple teams. Now, the NFL has been coming down on the coaches about wearing their masks on the sideline, and now they're threatening, we'll do more than fines. We'll start taking away draft picks if you don't start following the mask situation. Mm-hmm. I do think it's rather... It's funny, while not funny, with the way that the coaches show up on the sideline. They're fully masked when the game begins, but by the end of the game, that mask is under their chin, off to the side, under their nose. Like, these guys can't wear a mask for the entirety of the game. And quite honestly, I don't understand how you think that they can while they're screaming and yelling at their players.
Some coaches are making it work. I've seen Andy Reid with the mask and the shield, so he's just the most glaring example, but only because he's been in 2 primetime games. But I'm just saying, some coaches make it work where they keep the mask on the entire game. They're able to call plays. So coaches like Gruden and Payton, notably in that Monday night game, who pretty much started the game, and by the second quarter, neither one of them had it on. That's not going to fly going forward.
No, I think there's a major issue here, which is this COVID situation is far bigger than NFL football. and any other football.
It is.
It's and coaches need to be. I heard one coach, I can't remember which one it was saying that, you can't expect the coaches to keep it on through the entirety of the game. This is really important. We've got to shout and all the rest of it. And actually, no, that's absolutely nonsense. Football is the most important of the least important things, and these coaches have to realise this. They've got a duty to the cities they come from and for the country they live in to be a role model for people who are refusing to wear masks, because Andy Reid decides, or let's say a coach, Gruden, decides to disrespect the rules of the league by not wearing the mask and goes around doing it, then all the fans on the street of the Raiders will be saying, well, I don't need to wear a mask because Gruden didn't wear one. He seems fine. And that's how these things perpetuate. These guys are role models. They're seen on national television. Get the mask on, keep it on, and realize the job you're doing is just a sport. It's a game. It's a pastime. It is entirely and utterly meaningless to the existence of humanity.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the Raiders, Neil, because...
Well, I only brought the Raiders up because that was the one in the story, but there's other coaches too.
Well, Monty, Darren Waller threw a wonderful fundraiser, which I'm sure did great for his charity. Unfortunately, it violated all sorts of COVID rules, and there were lots of pictures of it.
Yeah, I think that's where the threatening to take away the draft picks came in. So, yeah, they made like $300,000. Apparently, they wore their masks up until they got into the party, and then they took them off to, shake hands and kiss babies and have apologized and feel bad about it. Very stupid.
Well, and what's interesting about that, too, is the city of Las Vegas fined the facility $2,000 for violating COVID rules. And if Vegas is fining you, then you're really stupid.
Yeah.
All right. Back to the football games. We still have quite a number of 1:00 games here. The Seattle Seahawks are at the Miami Dolphins. The Seahawks have moved up to second in the power rankings. The Dolphins actually move up to 24th in the power rankings. Seahawks are favored by 6.5 points in this particular game. They're also breakers of the myth of the early kickoff on the East Coast for a West Coast team, because they've won 9 consecutive games in the Eastern time zone. Russell Wilson enters week 4 as the league's leader in touchdown passes with 14 and a passer rating of 139. His 14 touchdown passes are the most by a player in his team's first 3 games of a season ever. With at least 3 touchdown passes on Sunday, he will surpass Peyton Manning, who had 16 touchdown passes in 2013 for the most touchdown passes by a player through his team's first 4 games of a season in NFL history. 3 of the previous 5 players with at least 14 touchdowns through 4 games went on to win league MVP that season. I only bring that up because every time we see Russell Wilson now, everyone brings up he's never received an MVP vote. I think it's ridiculous at this point. Like, cut it out. He's going to win the MVP if the Seahawks are in the playoffs. It's pretty obvious at this point.
God, what is it about you and voting? Jeez.
Oh, man.
Wow. I don't even know how to go on from that point. I will just add that DK Metcalf is on a tear with at least 90 receiving yards and a touchdown on Sunday. He will become the 3rd player with 90 receiving yards and a touchdown reception in each of his team's first 4 games of a season in NFL history. Without looking at the notes, well, I know only one person on here who doesn't have access to the notes. Doc, do you know who the other 2 receivers are who did that?
No.
Well, thank you for answering honestly.
Well, I think you'll find that Doc is just
in-depth sports analysis.
Yeah, he's representing all of us with that tone of voice, and he doesn't care, and neither do we.
DK Metcalf's name will be said in the same breath as Marvin Harrison and Randy Moss.
I knew one of them were Randy Moss. I kind of figured that was going to be one. Yeah.
We are almost all taking the Seahawks here. Don has got it locked in. Neil is your lone detractor, Don, but Neil also said that he really looks at your picks and and appreciates them and understands where they come from. So tell Neil why he's crazy on this one.
First off, you said Russell Wilson has like a 130 something passer rating.
Yes,
if as good as a start as he's had, that we can just throw the passer rating, out the window if he doesn't have a perfect one. I mean, the guy's just been unbelievable. I don't know how he doesn't have a perfect rating, but anyway, I mean, it's not the Legion of Boom. I mean, the Seahawks defense isn't great. I mean, they think they're the first team to let up 400 yards in 3 straight games, 400 yards passing. It's something ridiculous that they've let up. But I don't see Fitz magic happening. I mean, Fitz magic is due for another 3 interception game. I mean, that's usually what he does. He'll come out, have a big win, everybody be hooping him up, and then he'll just crap the bed, so to speak. I'm not sure how you would pick against the Seahawks at this point.
All right, Neil. So how did you pick against the Seahawks?
Oh, two main reasons. First of all, the Seahawks still have week 4 now. Still have the worst defense in football. It's a 32nd ranked defense. So, and I'm not sure a 32nd ranked defenses always travel that well on the road. And am I right in thinking, you guys know your country better obviously than I do? Isn't this the longest possible trip for an NFL matchup?
Yeah. Yes, it is.
And for the early game, and I do put something into that. I think there's some reality there that length of trip is going to have an effect. It's going to be a shootout this game for sure, because obviously the Seahawks defense is terrible, and Miami's defense is not that far up the rankings behind them. So yeah, big shootout, and I think maybe the team who might be slightly tired going into the fourth quarter in this crazy old season with no preseason and all the rest of it, that it might just be one of those games that throws up an odd result in the sense that Miami might just nick it. And let me just be clear, that doesn't in any way do I think that Miami's a better team than Seattle. Seattle are an outstanding team, but that defense is going to catch them out at some points this season, because you can't go on averaging almost 500 yards a game, giving that up in defense without it catching you a couple of times throughout the season.
Yeah, you used the phrase "throw up" in this age of COVID, and I got scared for a moment.
Oh, Neil does have a valid point, because all 3 of the Seahawks games have been shootouts by score alone. So
true. What's the injury report, James?
Yeah, and that was going to segue into the injury report, that it's cost them as well, because the injury report is a laundry list today. The biggest name that's doubtful is linebacker Jordan Brooks. He has an MCL sprain. Other names showing up on the injury report, and give me a minute here to gather all these by position. Running backs Chris Carson and Carlos Hyde with knee and shoulder are questionable. Cornerback Shaquille Griffin, Quentin Dunbar, Nico Thorpe are all questionable. Safeties Lano Hill and Jamal Adams. Tight end Will Disley. Defensive end Benson Mayowa. Defensive tackles Poona Ford and offensive tackle Dwayne Brown. Guards Eric Pusick and Damian Lewis. So in case you were counting, that's at least a dozen names right there. And these are all key contributors on both sides of the ball. They have definitely paid for the way they've been playing. For the Miami Dolphins, cornerback Byron Jones is the biggest name on their injury report with an Achilles injury. He did not practice on Wednesday. And safeties Kayvon Frazier and Clayton Fedgeldelum show up as questionable.
All right, well, I guess Neil expects an exciting game, and I'm sort of with Don. I don't expect an exciting game at all. I think this is going to be a blowout.
Is Quentin Dunbar allowed in Florida?
That's also a good question.
I mean, he's the king of shootouts in Florida, no?
That was too far.
Really? Come on, man.
Allegedly.
Let's go. By the way, there are 2 games this week that have double-digit point spreads. I'm surprised this wasn't one of them. The next game, which is not what I'm not talking about. I thought the Seahawks-Dolphins would be double digits. All right, Vikings-Texans. We already mentioned the COVID implications for the Vikings. They're back at practice starting today on Thursday. as they were the last team to face the Titans. The Texans stay at 19. The Vikings actually stay at 23. The Texans are favored by 4.5 points in this one. A lot of us are taking the Texans in this, and I would urge this one word of caution. The Vikings have won all 4 times versus the Texans. Last time they played, though, was in 2016, aka before Watson. Texans are only averaging 19 points per game, but they should be able to score more than that versus a defense allowing 34 points per game. And the Vikings are -5 in take giveaway ratio with 7 turnovers, 6 of them Cousins interceptions.
So what you're saying is the Texans are due.
I'm saying the Texans are definitely due. However, the one person Neil has marked as the one we should be paying attention to with his picks has gone against the Texans and has taken the Vikings.
Well, that's just Kirk Cousins love.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going with the Vikings. I'm looking at the stats, for the Texans. I mean, their total rushing yards this year have been 198. They've given up 565. I mean, a lot of it has to do with playing the Ravens week 2, but it's still a huge differential. Their teams have scored 24 more first downs than they have. The third down conversions are better. Total offensive yards is over 200 more than the Texans. I like Deshaun Watson a lot. I mean, he makes a lot out of nothing because there's nobody on that offense besides Deshaun that really scares you as a playmaker. Will Fuller's good for a deep pass every now and then, but if he's going to Randall Cobb a lot, I'm not worried about Randall Cobb breaking the game open for him. I mean, having said that, I know the Vikings have not been playing great, especially Kirk Cousins, as you highlighted, but assuming Dalvin Cook is healthy and Dalvin Cook plays the whole game, I mean, I think he could run all over that Texans defense, which really has, besides J.J. Watt flashing some plays, they don't have anything really to hang their hat on. That's kind of why I'm leaning towards the Vikings.
James, what's the injury report?
Real quick, he mentioned Dalvin Cook running the ball for the Vikings. Anytime to get away from that is pretty much disaster. The only bright spot in last week's loss was that Kirk Cousins finally threw the ball to Justin Jefferson, which I'm still crying over from the draft, and I will continue to cry over until he's no longer in Minnesota. But 7 catches for 175. If Kurt can stop screwing up, maybe they'll win a game. I don't think this is the week, though. Vikings injury report has 3 cornerbacks listed: Chris Boyd, Mike Hughes, Cameron Dantzler, all listed as questionable with undisclosed injuries. Houston Texans, Duke Johnson, the running backs, limited with an ankle injury. Defensive tackle P.J. Hall shows up as questionable. Linebackers Pete Kalambaya and Zach Cunningham also show up as questionable going into the game on Sunday.
Gentlemen, I've been remiss, and I've forgotten that some of our superfans have written write-ups.
There you go again.
I know, but fortunately, I've caught the Texans one here on time. Texans James has written in saying, Vikings at Texans, probably, definitely, maybe, a battle of winless playoff teams from a year ago. The local government is allowing up to 13,300 fans for the game on Sunday, which seems like a great idea since the visiting team was just exposed to players that tested positive. On the field, Texans are now the only team in the league to have not forced a turnover. They're allowing points on 58.6% of drives in the bottom 10 on pressuring the opposing quarterback and are allowing 5.2 yards per rush attempt. They get to face Kirk Cousins, one of the best young rushers in the league, and a decent pair of receivers that is the only team letting up a higher pressure rate. If there was a game for the defense to get right, this would be it. The Houston offense has provided Watson with 2.3 seconds per dropback, and despite this, has only called a total of 4 RPOs and 14 play action passes all season. The quote unquote dynamic receivers are getting only 4 yards, 4 yak. Yards after catch, which is bottom half of the NFL. Naturally, this is all Deshaun Watson's fault, according to the Houston media, but that is simply not true. However, here is where the knob saves his job. Magic starts. Naturally, Knob is somehow one of the few beneficiaries of the only outbreak of COVID in the NFL so far, and will manage to let Deshaun Watson save his job yet again starting this week against Minnesota. Knob will stubbornly stick to the early run game leaning on David Johnson and his less than 45 yard per game rushing average with less than 25 yards per game from receptions. However, the Vikings aren't exactly stout on defense, so this plan will pay enough dividends to let Watson win it for us sometime in the fourth quarter. Minnesota 20, Houston 31. Sounds like a lot of points for a team that's not going to do a lot on offense.
There's potential there. They played the Chiefs, the Ravens, and the Steelers, and we all expect those three teams to pretty much be in the running at some point for best record in the league, make the playoffs, chance to win their respective divisions. These were not cupcake games, and this is probably the worst way to start the season for any team in the league to go up against those three, especially weeks 1 and 2, where you've got arguably the two best teams in the league at the time back to back. That'd be like playing football in the 90s and opening up against the Cowboys and the Niners in the first 2 weeks of the season with playoff aspirations.
The Arizona Cardinals are at the Carolina Panthers. The Cardinals move down to 12 in the power rankings. The Panthers move up to 22. The Cardinals are favored by 3.5 points. You can make numbers say anything you want, just so you guys know this. Cardinals score more points per game and allow less per game than the Panthers, but the Panthers have a much better take giveaway ratio, +2 to -3. Despite the bad loss by the Cards to Detroit and a good win by the Panthers versus the Chargers, I'm going to take the Cardinals in this game. So are all of you. One note, MJ, our Atlanta Falcons superfan, has kindly filled out the picks sheet, even though he's not here with us. He's going with the Panthers in this game. I'm a little curious as to why. Monty, what say you on the Cardinals Panthers?
I just don't see how the Panthers are going to be able to keep up. Sorry, Texas James, but DeAndre Hopkins is amazing. He's on one of those Michael Thomas type paces where you catch 12 balls a game and just dominate. I just don't think that Carolina has enough talent. Maybe MJ just got a little bit confused. I don't know. Maybe like Teddy Two Gloves. I don't know why anyone would pick Carolina in this game.
I think there was
I almost picked Carolina.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm the same. Yeah, I saw last week some cracks in the Kyler Murray MVP elect business. He threw 3 picks, was it, against Detroit?
Yep.
And that was under minimal pressure, really. There were 3 2 of them were particularly bad throws. Maybe teams are starting to keep him in the pocket, and he can't see over the top of it because he's a Smurf.
What's the injury report, James?
Yeah, I almost picked the Panthers just based on the overall experience of the team. Look, outside of Fitzgerald and Hopkins, that offense is very, very young. So I figured this would be a close game. I wouldn't be mad going either way on this. I just picked Arizona because overall I think they're playing better than Carolina right now. As far as the injuries, for the Panthers, Kawan Short, Dante Jackson, Jeremy Chin, Yuter Gross-Matos, and Adrius Taylor all show up as questionable on the injury report. For the Arizona Cardinals, Devin Kennard seems to be the big injury. Fellow linebacker Dennis Gardick, defensive end Zach Allen, and wide receivers Christian Kirk and DeAndre Hopkins show up on the injury report. Hopkins is nursing an ankle injury, and safety Budda Baker, who just signed a big deal a couple of weeks ago, is doubtful with a thumb injury. He's undergone surgery to address a UCL tear in that thumb.
I will also add that these two teams did meet last season. Granted, the Panthers were a completely different team, but the Panthers won that game 38-20. So it's not outrageous to think the Panthers could win this game. I just don't think that's as a betting man, I'm going to take the team that I feel more confident in, and that's the Cardinals.
I mean, sometimes
that coaching staff has gone to Washington, and a lot of those key players in that game are with other teams or just not in the league.
Sometimes we overcomplicate these things, and you've got to just ask yourself, in a fight, who wins, a Panther or a Smurf?
You've taken the Smurf in this instance, though.
Right. You did pick Arizona, Neil.
Yeah, don't start hitting me with facts. I'm not interested in facts.
The Los Angeles Chargers are at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Chargers fall to 20th in the power rankings. The Bucs move into the top 10. They are favored by 7 in this particular matchup. If Justin Herbert is the starter against Tom Brady, it will mark the first game since at least 1950 featuring an age gap of at least 20 years between opposing starting quarterbacks. The older quarterback won the 3 most recent meetings featuring the largest age gaps between opposing quarterbacks. However, I will let you know that those matchups were Tom Brady versus Sam Darnold twice, and then versus Daniel Jones. The last oldest matchup not involving Tom Brady was Warren Moon versus Ryan Leaf in the year 2000.
Wow.
All of that was a long way to say that the Buccaneers are going to win this game, should win it easily. Monty has it locked in.
Yeah, I just don't see I don't even know who's still left on the Bolts team. Isn't everyone on IR at this point? I don't see a rookie traveling across the country taking on Shaq Barrett and that pretty sound Buccaneer defense. And whether Godwin is out or not, I think the Bucs have enough weapons to get it done. Ronald Jones will probably be running out the clock in the fourth quarter with a 2-score lead.
I believe Godwin is out, James.
For the Buccaneers, Godwin is doubtful with that hamstring. Also showing up is Leonard Fournette with an ankle injury, Scotty Miller with a hip, Jason Pierre-Paul is questionable, and quarterback Sean Murphy-Bunting with a hamstring injury as well. For the Chargers, we have Joey Bosa nursing a triceps injury. Tyrod Taylor still listed as doubtful for this week. Mike Williams nursing a hamstring injury. Offensive lineman Trey Turner and Brian Balaga also show up on the injury report.
Isn't Melvin Ingram out too? Or am I making that up?
Yep.
If he's out, he's on IR. IR players are not showing up on my list unless they've just been designated this week or within the last day. Sorry.
He's out. He's out. Yep. He's on there.
Doc, what do you think? Chargers, Bucks.
I just wondered if, this is a great time for Gronk to get off the schneid, isn't it? I think there's chemistry there with Mike Evans, but too much talent. And I think the Rook's going to put up some yards on Tampa. They're not that great on defense yet, but no, this should be at least a 7-point win. But I want to see, the Bucs without their fastest wideout. I want to see if there's any change in chemistry there. But as I said, good time for Gronk to get off the schneid and that whole tight end crew to get off the schneid. So,
Neil, what are you writing here in the chat?
Oh, I was just Donovan Smith, the left tackle for Tampa Bay Bucks. He's going to be going up against Joey Bosa, isn't he? And I saw Joey Bosa put some plays in last week, and I wonder if this is finally, after all these years, the game that Brady has finally dusted for good.
That's terrible. Why would you even say such a thing?
Fingers crossed. Quite right, Monty. The other thing I would say is I've got a bit of a gripe with this Ronald Jones guy, who has done literally, barely more than I have in the NFL. And they're starting to call him Rojo. Come on, you can be called Rojo when you've done something in this league. Otherwise, get back in your box.
All right. Well, I'll just let you know they love Rojo down there in Tampa.
He's terrible. You got to earn your nickname, yeah? You got to earn your nickname. I mean, we call James, we call him Jambo. I mean, that's from years of hard work and persistence. He's got that nickname, and it just is. You don't get a nickname lightly.
They love him so much down there that they swooped up Leonard Fournette just as soon as they could. So
exactly,
yeah. Amen.
Listen, when you have the ability to add great talent to your team, you do so.
And at which point does Leonard Fournette take that job?
Yeah.
All right, we have the Washington football team and the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens third in the power rankings, the Washington football team 27. Ravens are favored by 13. We are all taking the Ravens. The reason why we're not going to give you an in-depth breakdown on this game is because we're going to have a superfan battle on tomorrow's podcast. So stay tuned for that. Basically, all you need to know is we're all taking the Ravens. It's pretty much a lock. James, what's the injury report look like for this game?
Chase Young is doubtful. Ryan Anderson is listed as questionable, the other defensive end. Offensive tackles Morgan Moses and Shadiq Charles are listed as questionable, along with wide receivers Steven Sims and Dontrell Inman. For Baltimore, Derek Wolfe, Ronnie Stanley, Anthony Levine Sr., L.J. Fort, and Jimmy Smith all show up as questionable, undisclosed injuries.
Undisclosed. I don't like undisclosed injuries.
I don't like undisclosed either, but this is the best I can do right now.
Probably a tight groin.
All right, 4:00 games.
I will fly
and we have
kick you, Neil.
We have the New York Giants at the Los Angeles Rams. The Giants are 31 only because the Jets suck more. The Rams move up to 9th in the power rankings. They are favored by 12.5 points. This one's my lock of the week, although it doesn't matter because I got eliminated from the survivor pools with the Cardinals last week. Thank you, Arizona. I'll just throw you some stats here. Jared Goff passed for 321 yards and 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, and had a rushing touchdown last week. He has 2+ touchdown passes in 7 of his past 8 starts, has 29 games with 2+ touchdown passes since 2017, which is 3rd most in the NFL. And he passed for 311 yards and 4 touchdowns with no picks for a 146.8 rating in the last meeting. He aims for his 4th in a row at home with 275+ passing yards. Oh, by the way, the Giants are only averaging 12.7 points per game. Quite honestly, the Giants could be the worst team in the NFL, not the Jets. It's a race to the finish there. Like I said, we're all taking the Rams. Doc, you got anything more to add to that?
No, the Giants are just above the Jets, but sad times in New York City. It is pretty sad football to watch. I had a lot of hope after the first game, after I was Thursday night, I think. But now I just see anybody who watched the Bills-Rams game, the perseverance, them coming back. They kind of took a quarter off. But all around, they're still one of the best coached teams in the league. Stayed relatively healthy. I think they're in it till the finish. Shouldn't be a problem for the Rams.
Crazy Jared has written in, and once again, I don't think Crazy Jared is too crazy this week. You ever see an interior D lineman get 5 sacks and a forced fumble? Well, get ready for this game. Really wanted to leave it as just a one-liner, but I'll add a little more flavor context. Giants will not be able to run the ball against the Rams. Goff is complete garbage, but the Rams will look impressive versus a secondary missing 4 starters on IR or doubtful. Giants are obviously still missing Barkley, and 2 of their wide receivers are still injured, even if Tate plays. The offense should do fairly well in terms of moving the ball through the air, but expect Donald to feast all day. If Kupp plays, watch for him to break 200 yards receiving. Rams 43, Giants 22. If Kupp plays, James, is Cooper Kupp on the injury report, and why? That's disappointing to hear.
Cooper Kupp is not listed on my injury report. However, Josh Reynolds is listed with an illness. Sebastian Joseph Day is listed as questionable, and Cam Akers is questionable. Considered day-to-day undisclosed injury, though. I don't know if that's coach's decision or not. For the Giants, all secondary members on the injury report: Julian Love, the cornerback, Jabril Peppers, and Adrian Colbert, the safeties. And Peppers is nursing an ankle injury. So again, players not listed are either going to play or they've already been placed on IR.
All right, good. So Cooper Kupp is going to play. I've got a lot of Cooper Kupp on a lot of fantasy teams. I can't not have Cooper Kupp playing. It would devastate me. This particular point.
Yeah, let me just throw in one thing here. The game on Sunday, look, it was a good game between the Bills and the Rams. I still think the Rams got hosed at the end by the referees. That was not pass interference. Yeah. I need to actually understand what is and isn't. The defender was standing flat-footed. The receiver runs into them. the defender bounces off and the flag is thrown, the defender is entitled to the space that he's standing in. He's not supposed to get out of the way because the receiver is running clear at him. I think that was a bad call. And, of course, the very next play is a touchdown pass. Hose job right there. Unfortunately, the Giants are just going to be the recipients of whatever vitriol is left over from that bad call.
Yeah, and the whole Goff garbage thing, let me tell you something. He's about 6th highest QBR already this year. He's played really well. And ladies and gentlemen, Aaron Donald is definitively the NFL defensive MVP. Just can turn around again. If you watch that Bills game, they were lucky with that call. You're right. Kind of a crap call. Keep that hanky in your pocket. And, Aaron Donald is worth the price of admission. One player, I'd rather watch him than a quarterback. Watch him every play. It makes the NFL great.
Well, let's go to the team that benefited from the crap call. It is the Buffalo Bills at the Las Vegas Raiders. The Bills remain steady at 5. Even though they keep winning, they can't seem to move out of that 5 spot. The Raiders moved down to 16. Bills favored by 3 on the road here. Entering week 4, Josh Allen ranks 2nd in the NFL in passing yards with 1,038. 10 touchdown passes and a passer rating of 124.8. He's the 4th player with at least 1,000 passing yards, 10 passing touchdowns, and a passer rating of 120 or higher through his team's first 3 games of a season in league history. He has 19 career rushing touchdowns, which is 2nd most by quarterback in his first 3 seasons in NFL history. And I think that's part of his game that sort of goes unnoticed there, Monty, is Josh Allen is just as much of a rushing quarterback as some of these other guys have been.
Yeah, he's definitely a playmaker, but I mean, that arm is impressive. I mean, I give Rob as much grief as everyone else, but Josh Allen can throw the ball and he can make plays with his feet. He's definitely a problem. And I don't know how you guys feel, but other than Russell Wilson, wouldn't you want to get Josh Allen a couple of votes for the way that Bills team has been playing?
No.
Wow. Just no.
No, because it's not. If anything with the Buffalo Bills, this is a complete team effort. I don't think there's any one player carrying them. Yes, Allen is playing better than he did last year, with the exception of last week. I didn't think last week was particularly even a solid game for him. He played okay. He did enough to keep them in the lead, and, he took advantage of a bad call at the end. But he's not playing in any way above and beyond, any realm of expectation. And I'm still going off the previous 2 games before that. He's playing well, yes, and
he's
better than last year.
He's a young guy.
He's improving.
But it's taking a step forward, and everything's going in the right direction.
Yes.
Would like to point out,
he should be doing, but nothing's eye-popping to say, like, hey, this guy is carrying the Buffalo Bills. If he was actually carrying the team, then yeah, but he's not.
He's making plays, though.
I just told you all of those stats. You weren't interested at all in the fact that he is 2nd in the NFL in passing yards and touchdown passes and passer rating?
Mm-hmm. Stats can lie, like you said earlier. And I would like to point out categories, but again, on the field, when I watch the Bills play, sorry, not impressed.
Rob was supposed to join me for a superfan battle last night, and he stood me up.
How dare he?
He obviously knows his team is going to lose out in the desert, and he didn't want to lose a superfan bet. A little payback from when he made me sing "Let's Go Buffalo." And I guess, YouTube's not going to get to have that because Rob was a little nervous. But he did do a write-up if you want to get to that.
Sure. Bills' offense has been on fire, using multiple sets and lots of motion and play action. Bills have ran 4 wide with 1 running back 50 times this year. Rest of the league has done it 92 times combined, so expect to see a lot of that to test the depth in the Las Vegas secondary. Bills will run the ball as the Raiders have been susceptible to it, but I expect the Bills to take advantage of the Raiders secondary that is banged up and lacking proper depth. I'll put a pause right there if you'd like to respond to that.
The Raiders secondary is definitely banged up. I will say Trayvon Mullen, if you guys remember him, he was a second-round pick a couple years back. He's been playing pretty well for our, a younger cornerback. We did lose Damon Arnett. Sounds like he's going to be going on short-term IR. He broke his thumb in training camp, whatever training camp was this year, and then banged it up again last week. It's definitely going to be a problem. I would expect Stephon Diggs and John Brown and company to play pretty well.
He mentioned, especially if John Brown plays on Sunday, he expects them to take advantage of your secondary. He expects another big week from Josh Allen, or should I say September AFC Offensive Player of the Month, Josh Allen. On defense, I think the Raiders will give the Bills fits with their rather large offensive line. Jacobs is a big-time running back, and I expect him to have a monster game. Bills' defense has regressed so far, but have dealt with plenty of injuries. Raiders' passing game does not scare me. Lots of wide receiver injuries help that. They would probably put Trey on Waller at times. I expect the Raiders to score a decent amount of points, but not enough. Bills score more and go on to Tennessee, remaining undefeated. Bills 38, Raiders 28.
Well, unfortunately for Rob, we all saw the formula of how to beat the Buffalo Bills. You just let them get out to a 4-touchdown lead. They take their foot off the gas, and then you climb back in there, and then you steal the game in the fourth quarter. I think that's obvious. The Raiders aren't going to have any answers for Lee Smith, great blocking tight end out of Buffalo who got a touchdown last week. I think we can all agree that man has a beautiful beard. But the Raiders, they are going to struggle a little bit with Buffalo across the board. The only thing I can think of is Josh Allen has been living this COVID life. He's up in Buffalo. He's throwing rockets and slapping heinies. And he's going to get off the airplane and be like, oh, my God, this is Vegas. I remember Vegas. I remember seeing other human beings. He's going to get distracted. He's going to step into the Death Star. And the young Raiders team did get embarrassed playing against Bill Belichick's defense. So, it's good for you to get punched in the mouth every now and again and remember you're not as good as you think you are. And the Raiders are going to have to play a pretty perfect game. This is the hardest part of their schedule, the first 5 games of the season. If you'd have told me they were 2-1 going into game 4, I would take that a million times out of a million when I saw the schedule come out last year. It's going to be a tough game. I expect the Bills to be in the playoffs. And we'll see. We'll see if the Raiders can bounce back after getting embarrassed in the second half of the Patriots game last week. Waller's a little banged up. Offensive line's a little banged up. Trent Brown's not going to play. He's a little banged up. Our wide receivers are out. I think we're down to our 3rd and 4th guys, so expect Zay Jones and Nelson Aguilar sightings this weekend. So Gruden's going to have to scheme something up. It's going to be a tough game. But I think the Bills will take their foot off the gas just like they did last week, and that's it. Raiders come out with a slim victory right at the end, right as time expires. Daniel Carlson for the win. We are undefeated in the desert.
We are all split on this particular game, but since injuries keeps getting mentioned, James, I feel like we should mention what those injuries actually are.
Yeah, we're going to start with Monty's Raiders, who should ride Jacobs into the ground until he shows up on this report. Receivers who are doubtful for this week are Brian Edwards and Henry Ruggs, ankle and hamstring, respectively. Another receiver showing up on the injury report is Rico Gafford with a hamstring. Other players listed as questionable: Nick Kawakowski with the pectoral strain, Damon Arnett with thumb injury. Corey Littleton is listed as questionable, undisclosed. Offensive lineman Trent Brown, Sam Young show up on injury report. Safety Jonathan Abraham, undisclosed. But I don't see the TV card here, Monty. Is there any word on the TV card? Is it going to be okay for Sunday?
No, but I think you guys saw that report that Abrams, when he hit that card, he chipped a piece of his collarbone and had some internal bleeding and finished the game. I mean, that guy is a fun player to watch. This is not on Monday Night Football, so there shouldn't be any extra TV cameras this week.
All right. For the Buffalo Bills, linebacker Tremaine Edmonds nursing a shoulder injury. Quentin Jefferson, a defensive tackle with a foot injury. Micah Hyde, safety with an ankle injury. Running back Zach Moss shows up with a toe. Wide receiver John Brown nursing a calf injury. Dawson Knox, a tight end, missed last week's game due to concussion. Was a full participant in practice on Wednesday. Ed Oliver, the defensive tackle, shows up as questionable, undisclosed injury.
So on this game, Don and James are with me taking the Bills. Doc and Neil are with Monty taking the Raiders. It's an even split, 3-3.
Josh Allen's due for a brain cramp. You see, you guys watch the game? That fourth quarter, I just saw some of the old Josh Allen going, "What the hell are you doing?" And his offseason coaching has been, oh my God, the touch he is putting on 20-yard throws. He's got that soft, delicate touch he didn't have. He's going to be dangerous, but at what point is the head going to overcome the physical body? He's got it in there. You just see it. That a couple times Aaron Donald got to him in the fourth quarter. You go, what are you doing? But it's going to come sometime. I think it's going to come this week. I think the one consistency is let's keep the Death Star mystique going. Just a hunch.
It's a Roomba. I'm insulted by it being called the Death Star.
Clean sweep.
How dare they? The New England Patriots are at the Kansas City Chiefs, the last of the 4:00 games. The Patriots, despite their rousing victory over the Raiders, moved down from 7 to 8 in the power rankings. How dare you, superfans? The Chiefs move up from 2 to 1. They are favored by 7 points. I happen to know that there is a superfan battle between one Kansas City Chiefs Nick and PodVader that you will be able to hear on the Friday podcast. So I won't go too in depth on this other than to tell you everyone is taking the Kansas City Chiefs. I have one minor exception. The 7 points I think is too much. I did say on the Superfan Battle 23-16, which would be 7 points exactly. So I'll say 23-17 is the final score. The Chiefs win. I think the Patriots defense will do enough to slow the Chiefs down, and the play and the offense, the running game specifically, will play the old Peyton Manning, Tom Brady defense of keep Mr. Mahomes off the field for as long as possible. James, what does the injury report look like?
For the Chiefs, it's all defense. Chris Jones, Alex Okafor, L'Jarius Sneed. Sneed was placed on injury reserve yesterday. The other two are listed as questionable going into Sunday. For the Patriots, we got Julian Edelman and his knee.
He's going to be on that injury report all season long. You know it. It's the Tom Brady injury, so you never have to mention Julian Edelman's injury ever again.
Unless he doesn't show up, then I'm going to have questions. Sony Michel and his quad.
See, now that's an interesting one because Sony Michel had one of his best games as a Patriot with 2 long runs. But what's interesting about that is usually when a running back is 30 yards downfield, he doesn't get caught from behind. He's terrible. What a first-round bust he is.
So just in terms of our weekly update about where the New England Patriots defense sits ranking-wise, Jay, still nowhere near the top 5 in any ranking at all across the board. So.
No, they'll be there. Don't you worry. They'll be there.
When, no, Jay? The season's over soon.
We haven't even reached the quarter part yet. What are you talking about?
So the Patriots season.
Predicting COVID shuts us down.
Oh, all right. What's the next thing, James? I love going. This is my favorite part of the podcast, by the way.
Isaiah Wynn, undisclosed, questionable.
Yeah, that's concerning.
Adam Butler.
Adam Butler is also concerning because he's going to be necessary to contain Patrick Mahomes and perhaps stop the run if that's even possible.
And Cody Davis, also questionable. Those last 3 are undisclosed, but all questionable. Yeah,
Cody Davis, I don't even know who he is, so I'm not worried about Cody Davis. I think he's a special teamer.
Safety.
Yeah.
So not worried about Cody Davis. All right, there we go.
Well, there's two things to note, Jay. First of all, there's only 3 late games this week, which is absolutely scandalous. It's not going to make my bath any more enjoyable than usual. And secondly, you said 7 points in this game.
Yes.
How on earth do you think you're going to stop that Patrick Mahomes? I mean, we've just seen the second best team in football, the Baltimore Ravens, or certainly in the AFC. Let's be fair. So. and they were humiliated by the Chiefs, and you didn't really get the feeling the Chiefs were breaking sweat on offense. So they're going to crush you, absolutely crush you.
James, how many injuries did you mention on the Chiefs defense?
3.
And who were those injuries again?
D Ford,
defensive lineman. Yep.
Defensive lineman. Jones, I think, was the other
defensive lineman. Yep. And then a corner. But those two big defensive linemen slash linebackers.
Okafor, sorry.
Oh, more defensive linemen. Have you seen the Patriots run game this season, Neil?
I know D Ford plays for San Francisco, but sure that.
Yeah, D Ford does play. Sorry, my bad.
All right. Well, listen. Point of fact here is that the Patriots running game will control the ball for as long as possible. The problem with the theory is that you have to actually come away with points at the end of those long drives, or else you're going to lose. You can't leave points on the board when it comes to the Kansas City Chiefs. And we have seen the Chiefs score in 2.2 seconds. It's that easy. But right now that's my hope and dream. Is the Patriots just control the ball and don't let Patrick Mahomes play football. That's the only way to slow them down.
It's good we've got a doc in the house because somebody needs a checkup from the neck up.
It's not unrealistic at all. I think the Chiefs are just as afraid of the run game as I am proud of the running game.
Nice.
Monty, when have you ever seen Bill Belichick get blown out of a game?
When have I ever seen Belichick get blown out?
Yeah.
Last time they played Kansas City, I believe.
It's a rarity, regardless of talent mismatch. And yeah, we know. Greatest offense in history, yada, yada. But, hey, when have you ever seen Bill Belichick get blown the F?
Wasn't it a Chiefs game?
It rarely happens.
Yeah.
The On to Cincinnati. The On to Cincinnati game is a good one.
For every single game, Jay, you come with, they're undefeated in their last 4 games against such and such a team. So what's the story here in this game?
Oh, yeah. This will be told in the Superfan battle, but I'll share it on this show. Why not? The Patriots are undefeated in the last 5 years against teams that have started 3-0.
Nicely diverted, Jay. Nicely diverted. What was the score in that game that was on in Cincinnati? It was like 562-17 or something.
Something like that. That sounds about right. Yeah. All right. Can we get to Sunday Night Football now?
There is no Sunday Night Football.
Sunday Night Football features the Philadelphia Eagles at the San Francisco 49ers.
Wow, this is our second issue of the week.
Well, are you just going to make sure you have some sort of bleep in every episode? Is that what
I was just being topical.
Okay. Eagles are 26th in the power rankings. The 49ers are 14th. They are favored by 7 points in this particular game. Eagles points for 19.7, points against 29. The 49ers, 29 points per game, allow 15.3 points per game. That's first in the league. Also, just to point out, Eagles -7 on takeaway giveaway ratio. The 49ers +3. I think it's pretty easy to see that the 49ers are going to come away with a win in this one. And James, you've locked it.
Oh yeah. I mean, why not? We currently have the worst quarterback in the league, a running game that won't be leaned upon when it's actually performing well. Injury toll pretty much ticking up here. Is looking like the old days of Washington, and a coach that refuses to simplify the game plan consistently so that his quarterback can succeed. So, yeah, there's blame to go all around, and I've not been impressed by anything the Eagles have done this season. The defense looks shot, except for a couple of flashes from the defensive line. The linebacking core is utter trash. Everybody across the board. I don't even understand how Nathan Gary is still an NFL football player. They should have let him go when they let Grugier Hill walk out the door and just revamp the whole thing through the draft, but I blame the scouting department. The only bright spot in the secondary is Darius Slay, who consistently takes away the team's number one option. Outside of that, hey, it's not like the sky is falling or anything like that. Is
Carson Wentz in danger, James?
Is Carson Wentz in danger of what?
Being benched.
Being benched. Probably not, but my forecast for the Eagles for the rest of the season is 40 years of darkness, earthquakes and volcanoes, the dead rising from the grave, human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. Yeah.
Hey, James, here's a conspiracy theory. Do you think that your coach and my coach, Sean Payton, that are really close golf buddies, have already made reservations at Hilton Head for early January? That's what I think.
See why not? I don't see why they would. I mean, we struggled last year to 9-7 a record that was grossly undeserved, and for all the injuries that keep getting pointed out with this team, especially on offense, everyone wants to go back to, well, they righted the ship in the last 4 games last year. Well, they simplified the game plan last year, and unfortunately, the game plan hasn't been simplified yet. I'm trying to figure out what it's going to take to simplify things. Run the ball, smash mouth, RPO. No defense that we played thus far this season has been able to stop our running game. You see backs coming out of the backfield getting 8 to 12 yards a clip every so often, and all of a sudden they just want to go pass happy. And I don't get it, because Carson Wentz is not that guy. He needs help. He's not the person to carry this offense, and he's not getting it done. At this point, I'm calling that MVP caliber year that he had before the injury against the Rams a fluke, because that's exactly what it's looking like as we get further and further away from it. He's been a sub-500 quarterback since that season, and he's playing like it. So, yeah, he is by far and away the worst quarterback in the league right now.
Tell us how you really feel.
To take away his thunder on the injuries, I was just reading that the Eagles had 1 wide receiver practicing today, so that's good.
I'm guessing that would be Greg Ward, because everybody else is hurt.
That is correct.
And for a position that we came into the season already injured with, Alshon Jeffrey's foot, Deshaun Jackson's nagging hamstring, and an inexperienced Jalen Reagor who got hurt before the season started, I don't understand why we didn't carry more wide receivers into the season. But, whatever. I don't know anything how to run a football team. I just point out glaring observations of stupidity year in and year out.
All right. So how about the injuries for the Niners? Are they playing their XFL team, or are the starters returning?
Well, 2 people who won't be playing are Dee Ford and Jordan Reed. They've both been placed on injured reserve with a neck and knee.
Are we sure Dee Ford plays for the 49ers and not for the Kansas City Chiefs?
Yes. Dee Ford does play for the 49ers, just not this week. Running back Raheem Mostert is listed as questionable with a knee injury. He did not participate in Wednesday's practice. Jimmy Garoppolo is now questionable with his ankle injury. He did not practice on Wednesday. Kwan Williams is questionable. He suffered a hip injury against the Giants. And Emmanuel Mosley is in a concussion protocol, the other cornerback. So,
I didn't hear you mention George Kittle.
George Kittle's not listed in the injury report, so I don't know if he's going to play or not. Speculation is that he will be available, but this would be the 3rd week he's out, if I'm not mistaken.
But if he's not in the injury report, then that means he's practicing. So that means I'm going to guess he's going to play. That's good news.
Hey, look, it's good news for them. I will keep an eye out for that quarterback situation because, what was it? I keep forgetting the backup's name.
Nick Mullins.
Mullins, yes. Don't trust Nick Mullins throwing the ball too much, but they do a lot of shifting and misdirection with their play execution, much like the Rams do, which gave the Eagles fit when we played them. So expect the misdirection gadget plays to show up in abundance on Sunday night and the Eagles to look completely and utterly confused like they never played football before. On the Eagles side,
I'll just add, Nick Mullins threw for 343 yards last week and averages 272 yards per game at home in 5 career home starts.
Wow. Because, against the Giants, every time I saw them score, it was running the ball. I didn't see him throw too much. But, hey, 300 yards is an easy thing to make up when you're dumping off screen passes and they go for 30.
That's all he needs to do.
For the Eagles, Avonte Maddox is doubtful with an ankle injury. Of course, I mentioned Deshaun Jackson and his hamstring and Alshon Jeffrey and his foot. They're questionable. Tackles Lane Johnson, Jack Driscoll, and Jason Peters show up on the injury report, all with lower body injuries. I know that for a fact. They're questionable. Fletcher Cox is questionable. Jamon Brown is questionable. Again, undisclosed in those cases. Miles Sanders has a glute and was limited on Wednesday's practice. That's the most concerning injury for me this week is Miles Sanders, because we need that guy. And for whatever reason, when he doesn't play, they don't like running the football. And I don't understand why, because you still have Corey Clement and Boston Scott in the backfield, and they are capable running backs. Run the football. That's how you save Carson Wentz. But there's no saving him right now because he's trash.
Well, that's why you have Jalen Hurts sitting in the background.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts can't fix this.
No. All right. Well, let's move to Monday Night Football, where we have a team looking for a fix in the Atlanta Falcons against a team that's looking maybe for a little more respect in the Green Bay Packers. The Falcons, 25th in the power rankings. The Packers remain steady at 4. They are favored by 7 in this particular matchup. The Falcons score 30 points per game, but they allow 36 points per game, and most of those 36 come in the second half. The Packers lead the league with 40.7 points per game, allow only 28.3 points per game. So I expect a shootout in this particular game. It's another good one on Monday Night Football. Surprise, but NFL never gives ESPN the good games on Monday Night Football. I think the Packers will win, though, on the last play of the game. So 7, that's probably a push for me in terms of going against the spread. We are all taking the Green Bay Packers. Neil and James have locked it in. I've heard enough from you, James. Neil has left us. Doc, what do you got on this one?
Atlanta can't stop anything. I just don't see. Listen, the best thing about Rodgers right now, he's playing efficient ball. His receivers are getting separation, even WR 2, 3, and 4. They don't necessarily have to run the ball, but I just think if this turns into a track meet, which it should, Rodgers is right now as good as the NFL MVP. To this point in the season, I don't see anything that would change that. Atlanta is just one sad state right now. Coach on the hot seat. And that's it.
How about you, Monty?
Yeah, I think I saw a stat that maybe brought it up. No team has given up 15-point leads in the second half of the fourth quarter in like years and years, and Atlanta's done it twice. Dan Quinn blowing that Super Bowl lead. I just got to think that MJ's probably calling for the coach's head and ready to make a change. I did see Julio's coming back this week. Hopefully it'll be a good game. I don't know what's going on in Atlanta. Matt Ryan puts up points, but the defense can't seem to win, and they're supposed to have a defensive coach. What's going on down there?
I'm glad you brought up MJ. Thank you. He did have a write-up on this game. This week, the Dirty Birds are 0-3, head to Lambeau Field to quote-unquote play the 3-0 Green Bay Packers. At this point, I'm not sure there's much to say. Each week, I and other fans have postulated what the Dirty Birds need to do to win. We have spoken on the mistakes from the previous week's game and how to go into the current week. Nothing has worked. It's as if they no longer know how to play 4 full quarters of football. I don't know what their game plan is, but it better include magic and a possible sacrifice to a football deity. Last week, the Dirty Birds played a good 3 quarters of football, but still managed to lose the game in the fourth. Now, to be fair, Nick Foles is not exactly a bum, so there is that to factor in. I'm not going to waste my time or your time talking about what the Dirty Birds need to do to win the game, because at this point, I don't know that I have faith in them to execute for a full 4 quarters. They will start off with a lot of energy, make some good plays. We will hit halftime and come out of halftime. The Dirty Birds won't make any significant adjustments. Then in the fourth quarter, Green Bay will start to pull away as Aaron Rodgers goes into kill mode. Green Bay 35, Dirty Birds 27. Yeah, I think that's about right. I think he's nailed it on the head there, Don.
Yeah, I mean, Dan Quinn also is from my beloved alma mater, Salisbury University in Salisbury, Maryland. He's been giving us a bad name the past couple of years with his defenses just taking a crap all over the field and just giving up these leads. The Super Bowl curse just won't leave them. Yeah, man, I can't tell you anything the Atlanta defense really does besides giving up leads. Like they don't get sacks, they don't get pressures, they don't get turnovers. I mean, Matt Ryan's doing as much as he can. I mean, I still think he's a good quarterback, but it's just they're really outmatched. And I don't know. I haven't seen many Falcons games this year. I don't know if they take the foot off of the gas at the end. Like I just don't understand how they've had to start. But
well, Green Bay Brian, our superfan, is also written in and has said, after our strong showing against New Orleans, I'm officially a believer in the 2020 Packers. Wow. When the superfan isn't a believer until week 4, that's saying something. We've been very balanced on offense with both the passing game and running game humming along. The O-line has been fantastic. Rodgers has done a great job of actually running the offense. I'm expecting we'll get Devontae back this week, which will obviously help. But frankly, the offenses look just fine without him too. Atlanta's defense is pretty weak, so I'm expecting some more fireworks from the Packers offense. On defense, we've been much more suspect. The pass rush has been pretty good, getting contributions from second-year players Kingsley Keke and Rashawn Gary. Za'Darius has played more of a joker position with Kenny Clark out, but that hasn't had the same impact he had last year. Preston Smith has been largely MIA. The secondary, especially Jair, have been good as well. That's good because they'll have their hands full against a very strong Atlanta passing attack. Where we continue to struggle is the run defense. It'll be a big help if Clark plays, but we're also banged up at inside linebacker. We'll see if Atlanta has the horses to make us pay on the ground. Atlanta is better than their 0-3 record, and this could easily be a trap game for Green Bay. Still, I like our chances with 12 on fire and the ground game rolling. Give me Packers 38, Falcons 27. Hey, that was pretty close to what MJ said.
Yeah, very much so.
James, what is the injury report and the last word on this game?
Devontae Adams is listed as questionable. He's the only offensive player showing up for the Packers. On the defensive side for them, Kenny Clark and Christian Kirksey, Rashawn Gary, and Randy Ramsey all show up as questionable. Gary has an ankle injury. Kirksey is still nursing that shoulder injury. For the Atlanta Falcons, Julio Jones is questionable, but he is expected to play. Jack McKinley shows up as questionable along with Ricardo Allen. The kicker, Young Hoku. Grady Jarrett with a leg injury shows up as questionable as well, along with wide receiver Russell Gage, who shows up as questionable. So quite some significant injuries here for both teams.
There you go. All right. So there is your week 4 preview in the books. That will end the first quarter of the NFL with only one game postponed due to COVID. I'd say that's a pretty good record. Hopefully we don't have any more games, though, postponed due to COVID. That's what we're looking to avoid. As always, tell your friends about the show. You can find us anywhere great podcasts are heard. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's no reason why you can't listen to the show or share with a friend. And subscribe so you never miss a show. Like I said, there will be a Friday show featuring superfan battles, so you'll want to tune in for those in-depth looks at individual games of the week. This week will be the Patriots and Chiefs, as well as the Washington football team and Baltimore Ravens. So tune in for that. We'll be back again on Tuesday. James, you're going to still be with me on Tuesday for the Not a Week 4 recap show?
Absolutely. I mean, who else is going to trash my squad?
So tune in for that. As always, you can check out any of the podcasts in the archive. I'm dead serious when I tell you they are not a recap show. So you can go and listen to those at any point during the season. We've done one for every week so far. So go and check those out in the archives, wherever great podcasts are heard. We will be back again tomorrow with the Superfan battles, and we'll talk to you again next week. As always, here's Kofi Annan. There you have it.
Dear friends and colleagues, saying goodbye is never easy. I believe we can all feel proud of what we have done together, and through it all, you have maintained your professionalism and commitment and remained true to the spirit of the Charter. That principle.
We go out, we hit people in the mouth.
Post Kofi Annan reading for Saints at Lions. This is a matchup of the two teams that NFL refs hate the most. Both teams sit at 1-2, but on opposite ends of the NFC spectrum. One team is still considered a contender, deservedly so. They got rid of our 2020 starting running back 3 years ago because they unearthed the gem in Alvin Kamara, arguably the best in the game. The Lions won't be able to stop him. The other team is a sad sack with horrible play calling, determined to give a 36-year-old running back almost all the backfield touches. It's really sad. I expect the Saints to stop AP with ease due to our predictability issues. If they don't change it up, they're screwed. On offense, the Lions need to shift course and get more aggressive using play action, pre-snap motion, and not run on every first down. That is weak sauce. On defense, Michael Thomas is practicing, coming back to play us this weekend. Great. We would have had a hard time against them even without Thomas. But now, even if he's a decoy, the beat-up secondary will be spread thin. Final, New Orleans 27, Detroit 23. Wow, that was a long way to go to say it was going to be a close game. Didn't sound like it was going to be a close game.
Sounded very much like gloom and doom.
It did. Sounded like a blowout.